The people of Hemel Hempstead are trying to increase engagement in arts, culture, creativity, see the value of the town. When you look at Dacorum Borough Council's arts and culture strategy, this slots in immediately. You see what people are writing. The people want these buildings. People want to use them. Yeah. This is a collection of people that are saying, we're doing something about it. We're members of the community, doing something for the community that's going to be used by the community. Yeah. It's a win-win for everybody.
Hello and welcome to Berko and Beyond. On the show this week, 3 people who need our help to save a 16th century barn. But there's more to it than that. Let's dive in. Lisa, James, Claire, welcome to Berko and Beyond.
Hello. Hello.
I feel like, topical this, I'm squeezed inside the Orion capsule because this is the most amount of people we've ever had in this podcast studio. So welcome, you're already setting records. Now, the thing that ties the 3 of you together is Heath Barn in Boxmoor, or Our Heath Barn. Lisa, tell me all about it.
Okay, so Heath Barn is a 16th century Grade 2 property, Grade 2 listed property in Boxmoor in Hemel Hempstead. It's obviously a very old property, but it's very well known locally as it was used as a music school from the 1950s onwards. We're at a point where it could be turned into private housing, but we've been running a campaign for the last 3 years to turn it hopefully into a community hub with a very strong arts and wellbeing focus. We've been given a really exciting opportunity by the council, the Herts County Council own it, of 4 months to try and put together a bid and fundraise. So that's where we're at the moment. And we kind of brought a team together. Everything's very fast and furious and kind of we're building on that momentum, trying to get the word out to as many local people as possible that this is a really exciting project and something to get behind. And it could be amazing. It could be amazing for all of us locally as individuals, for our families, for various different groups. And the time is now, really.
And geographically, it's very close to the leisure centre, isn't it? It's there for all to see.
Yeah. In terms of location, it's ideal. It's the end at the bottom of the fields of Hemel Hempstead Secondary School, slap bang next to the Boxmoor Playhouse, which do brilliant work anyway, and they've been fantastic at supporting what we're trying to do. Across the road from the St John's Church and the Moor, and as you say, next to the sports centre as well. So it's a real hub for, in terms of footfall, it's a very kind of busy kind of space, and we're kind of pitching it as that kind of cultural centre in Hemel. Because it's perfectly placed, and the layout of it and everything is ideal for what we're proposing.
Okay. So how did you guys get involved? Because interestingly, James, Claire, this is the first time you've met in person, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with the project, James?
So after 20 years of working in the public sector, either as a prison officer or a secondary school teacher, teaching art, I set up my own art business, being a professional artist and an art business that looks at engaging people into art to support their mental health and well-being. And I noticed something that Lisa posted on LinkedIn, and I reached out to Lisa and just said, it sounds like an absolutely fantastic project. I'd love to get involved or even just find out about what you're doing. And then met up with Lisa and a cup of tea that Lisa had to pay for because my card wasn't working. I forgot but after a talk that we envisaged was going to last about 20 minutes turned into a couple of hours. And then Lisa's enthusiasm for Heath Barn was just so infectious that I was just like, I need to be involved in this project. Thinking about locally, working as an artist, and I was reaching out to the local community to try and see what there was out there. And there are lots of people working individually, and there are numerous different organisations, charities, businesses operating. But it didn't really feel like there was a central hub or sort of like a central area where like-minded people could come together. And what Lisa was describing was very much what I experienced when I go up to Manchester, and that sort of that vibe and that sort of like that feeling of everybody really embracing creativity and it really infusing every part of their life. And I thought that I think what Lisa's trying to do is replicate that sort of feeling. And I was like straight on the bandwagon. It's like, yep, I need to be part of this. So yeah, that's how I met Lisa and got to know about the Heath Barn. And since visiting, I've started going down to that area even more and more. So I just think that that's a real sort of like signpost of this area can bring a lot of people together, and just that little meeting. And I've started going down there more. If it was a centre that opened, how fantastic that could be for a whole diverse group of people, really.
So Claire, how did you get involved?
I have known Lisa for many, many years. So I don't live in Boxmoor. I live locally, but not there. And I didn't actually know anything about Heath Barn or that it even existed. And just Lisa's passion for the project, and we've talked about it. And I suppose I've supported Lisa in sort of through coaching and mentoring and various ways. And it's an incredible building. And I'm a big believer in the importance of places and spaces and how we connect to them as humans, and how they do add to us. You can go to a village hall, but ultimately it's a village hall, and it's always going to be that. And having hired lots of village halls in the past, I used to run a big children's party business. It's always a village hall, and you're, it's a vibe, it's an energy. I've been into Heath Barn, and it's an incredible space. And you walk in, and the vaulted ceiling and the beams and just the thickness of the walls. There's an energy about the place, and it's sitting there empty. And you have this community around you, and they need to go and be in that building and to feel that. And it's one of the oldest buildings in Hemel.
Yeah.
And I thought the other day, if that building goes, there might be some children in Hemel who perhaps have never left Hemel, and so might never get to step inside a building like that and just feel that. Mm-hmm. I'm also a big believer in connection, and we were talking about AI earlier. Like, we need to connect, and we need spaces and places to connect. So a lot of what Lisa was talking about when we'd go for coffee was really tying in with a lot of the work that I do. And I get involved in lots of different projects. I'm not a person that likes to stick to one thing. I was like, focus, Claire. And I'm like, no, that's interesting. And it was really linking up with a lot of my own values.
Yeah.
So I've kind of dived into.
Whereas James can just go to Manchester and talk to people on the bus or on the tram because they talk to you up there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this, it's a fascinating project. So I guess the first thing that springs to my mind from what you were saying, Lisa, is 3 years we've been trying to save this and get together, and now all of a sudden that 3 has turned into 4 months. How did that come around, first of all?
Yeah, it's been quite a kind of an up and down journey. And sometimes when I look back, I think, what have we been doing the last few years?
It wasn't a criticism, by the way. I was more like, what? Yeah, it's like, what have you guys been doing for 3 years? Why didn't I launch a podcast earlier so you could come on, promote it? You could have some material to.
I think that's it. I think to be fair, probably it hasn't been 3 years campaign. It's been 3 years since I've been kind of interested in it, and I think it seeded itself kind of in March 2023, where I was going past thinking, what's going to happen? Because I think we're all familiar with the fact that there's lots of developments going on locally. And so it was that fear was planted. This is obviously an amazing building. I actually didn't know anything about it at the time. And I just had this fear, is it going to be knocked down and turned into housing? And then, of course, once the curiosity's there, started asking questions. You have a bit of backwards and forwards with the council where they're saying it's going to be turned into housing. And at first I was like, okay, yeah, that's what's happening. And then you start thinking, my mind's thinking, but does it have to be? Like, surely there's more exciting kind of opportunities. And my background was in the last 10 years has been in creative workshops as well. And I know how rare it is, like Claire touched on, having these kind of special spaces that kind of lend themselves to holding people in a particular way. That's rare. So that's kind of where it started. And then obviously you kind of start on the road of thinking, right, who do I contact that, might have a bit of sway? So it was contacting MPs and local councillors, and then taking surveys. And towards the end, I think that was getting on to the end of 2023, where we did a survey and over 520 local people responded. And actually, that was where the magic started coming up, because I was getting stories back of the connection with the building, not only from people who went to, had music lessons there, but also drama, people who got married there, had christenings, parties. So all of a sudden, this kind of idea kind of got legs, because you realise it's actually a really important place for a lot of people, and it's that emotional connection. And we looked at things like becoming a community, nominating it as a community asset of value. And there's a process of that, which takes a while, and that was refused. And the main thing actually over the last few years was going towards a committee meeting, which happened last September, which kept being put back and back and back. And the result of that actually wasn't good, wasn't positive. And at that point, I thought it was dead in the water. I mean, I was at the time heartbroken, as a lot of people were, a lot of supporters. And approval for change of use to housing actually got put through. And then, for reasons which I still don't fully understand, it went back to Herts County Council, and they actually, as a group, as a panel, decided that actually the community proposal should be looked into, because really all those other options should be exhausted before residential, to do with educational, social, and that's kind of where we are now. So February, that kind of got decided, and then we've been given 2 months exclusive, where no one else is on the scene as such. We've kind of got freedom of site visits and kind of getting a head start, but it doesn't entirely feel like a head start. And then it's meant to go on the market for 2 months. And then at the end of that, a decision will be made. So, yeah.
Okay, so
it's quite
there's a lot to pick at there.
Yeah, and it's planning and political and that kind of thing.
Let's
as
get
well.
political. I wouldn't know how. We've never got political on this podcast before. Let's try anyway. Yeah. So go on then. I'll get slightly political in the fact that playing devil's advocate, if it does turn into housing, the building still remains. The building gets saved. But I am playing devil's advocate. I can answer that question myself. And the first thing I would answer that with, James, is, but you lose that community and that sense of that wonderful space for everyone to share, or anybody who wants to share it.
Yeah. A lot of people are looking for different places to go to come together, and I think in a time where a lot of people are facing loneliness, where a lot of people are suffering from mental health issues, they're looking to do something slightly different. Sometimes, in the evening, pubs are open, but not everybody wants to go to a pub.
Or should be going to the pub.
Or should be going to the pub, but I think people, when they do come together and they do engage into community spirit, if they're engaging with people they've never met before, meeting people from different diverse backgrounds, that's only a positive thing, because it's about learning from each other, getting that sense of community. And I think, you can look at a building, it's a physical thing, but it's the feeling that you get from a building. It's what a building can stand for. It's what goes on inside a building. I think a perfect example of that is Rachel Whiteread, when she had her installation sculpture of Ghost, the house, and she filled it with concrete. And what she was trying to say was, a house is just a building, the outside thing that people see, but filling it with concrete, you're filling that space and you're capturing all the memories that have taken place inside that house. And I think that's what Heath Barn is about as well. It's about what is going to go on inside that building. It shouldn't be just for a select few that are able to live in that building. It's about diverse people from all different backgrounds and increasing the accessibility to that building and that gem of what Hemel Hempstead stands for.
And Claire, to your point earlier, it's the feels, right? When you go into a building, 16th century, we were talking about, you were just talking about people who got married in there, people who've had music lessons in there. There's a whole load of other stuff gone on there over those centuries. And those buildings, you speak to any architect, anyone who's interested in building and the arts, and you get a feel when you walk into a place. You get a feel when you walk into someone's home or into a shop on the high street. And the feels in this building, you were saying, are just incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing building, and it's sort of in a sort of two L shapes, really. But there's this beautiful courtyard garden in the middle with this beautiful magnolia tree. And we were very lucky. We filmed a promotional video recently, and the magnolia just came out that morning. It was like, oh, fantastic.
Perfect.
But I took Lisa for a coffee recently, and actually it's on the high street in Berkhamsted, but it's recently opened last year, I think, Nina, the coffee shop. But if you'd lived in Berkhamsted a while, you might remember that used to be M&Co department store.
Yes, it did.
Now it's split up into sort of 3 or 4 units, but it was one big unit, and you'd go in and it was just, white walls and their stuff. And when Nina opened, if you go in now, it's vaulted ceiling, these incredible, and you're like, that's always been there.
Who covered this up?
Yeah.
Who covered this up? And now, if I want to go for a coffee, I'm going to go in there because I want to sit in that old building. It makes such a difference to how you feel.
We will, if we grab that promotional video off you, if that's all right, and actually play some of that over this podcast. So when we're talking about it, and we'll show you the magnolia, we'll show you the inside of the building. But also this sketch has been drawn up. So it's not just, we want to save the building.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. There is a real plan in place.
Exactly. And I think obviously between us, we're quite visionary anyway. So if I'm talking to Claire or James about something, imagine this, and I kind of know they get it.
Yeah.
But Dave, who actually did the sketches, he kind of said, I don't think everyone's there yet. You almost have to present this, and that's what's been brilliant about the promo videos, that you have the vision of the barn, and then it morphs into what it could be. So the North Barn, for example, it would just be the most perfect cafe space, and you've got those beams. But it's different again. It has a different feel to the West Barn that also is beamed, and these timbers. We've had a Louis who's a timber. He's a heritage timber kind of expert.
Yeah.
And he's peering at these beams, going, "He's really old," And
yeah, mate, it's 16th century.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he's telling me about the detail, and some of them have got kind of like these little pockmark kind of things. And he said, there would have been another layer on top of that during, because obviously, like all buildings, they go through themes. And the farmhouse, for example, in the 50s, that used to be kind of like flat. I'm not sure exactly what the wording is, but now it has bay windows, and that would have been because the fashion was to have those additions. So they're able to see the changes that the building's gone through. And this is it. I'm not from an architectural background or anything, but all of, you can all be like, that's fascinating. And, looking at the fireplaces that have, and imagining, because it was a home originally, and Colonel Brereton, he was the last private owner there. But he actually was the one who opened up the building to the community. He was very respected and well known. He would have been quite wealthy man in those times, and he was mayor in 1927. But I just love that kind of the storytelling even then, because he had a medical background, but he's actually really well known for writing children's books. Many of that are held at Decorum Heritage Trust in Berkhamsted. So there's all that kind of, and that idea of legacy, and that's kind of what, we're about. It's kind of finding a modern use, but kind of building on what's been kind of done before in a really successful way. I think that's it. The building lends it. So, like Claire said, it lends itself fantastically for what we're kind of proposing. And the garden, it's just like the cherry on top.
So what is the challenge here? I mean, the challenge is time. The challenge is money, I guess. I mean, do people get it? And you were saying now the videos there, or do you get blank faces? Kind of, sorry, there's a barn and you want to do with it? Or
we did. We took a stall at the Easter egg hunt.
Boho Boxmoor,
a couple of weekends ago, and it was brilliant because our stall was right outside the barn, and so we were just talking to people, and you could say, do you see that amazing building? But actually a lot of the local people didn't know what it was. And I think sometimes when something's been there a long time, you walk past it and you're not really aware, it's not in your conscious. I didn't speak to a single person that went, oh, it's great that it's going to be housing. Not one person.
Someone's going to really enjoy living there.
Everyone was really on board with what it could be. And the more you talk to people, the more they understood that they could be part of it, and how do they interact with it. So I think a lot of this is awareness. How do we get this out here? But how do we help people understand how it's going to help them in their lives? So it is an incredible building, and it's wonderful that we can protect that heritage. But I think the angle I'd like to lean more on is, how will it help local people?
Yeah.
How can we cross those generations? How can a local teenager connect with the space as much as someone in their 70s and 80s?
Yeah.
And actually, how can they both be in the space at the same time and feel connected? That, I think, is the next wave of we're on social media, we're doing things like this, we're putting it out there, but to actually really help people understand how it's going to help them.
Yeah.
I think that's the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear to me, hearing you all talk about it, it's very much more than a building. Obviously, it's kind of two things. It's building and community, or building and people, whichever way you want to describe it like that. So what, 4 months left?
Well, not really.
Okay, here we go. More bad news, people.
We're kind of, so we've got it really until June.
Okay.
But I mean, the council, the relationship feels a lot better now. So, you know, and they're working kind of, with us in that there's a lot more back and forth, and it feels a lot friendlier. And actually they've said, even if it's kind of in a draft so there's that kind of space for communicating and kind of being very clear about what we're.
Just to interrupt, which is a very bad thing for any interviewer to do, really. How long it's been with the council? The council have owned it for how long now? Do you roughly?
Oh, since the 50s.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a long time, and it's been out of use since 2019.
So is this a case of the council? It's an asset, but it's a drain as well. We all know that councils have, you can understand it from their point of view that we've got this empty building that is draining cash that we don't have a lot of. It's pretty much that, is it?
I think there's a bit of that, and I think, I suppose the way I kind of want to present it to them is that we're doing them a favour in a way. Like, we're promising that we will look after the building, because of course I don't want to get too much into the, what will a developer do with it thing, but we've looked into the financials, and for a developer it's not viable. So then you have to question, why are they interested in the building then? And you hear horror stories about fires happening and that kind of thing. And so I suppose what we're trying to say to the council is we care about it. There's a whole group of people supporting it. And that's what they want to see, crucially, actually, is that there's the support, not only now, but kind of going forward into the future, that it will be supported and it will be a thriving space. And the other thing to mention is we're set up as a CIC at the moment, and obviously we're fundraising, but the aim is to become a community benefit society. So that is kind of in the wrapper of a co-op, where we're looking out for not only our members who will be kind of investing a share in the building, but the community. So there's always that. We're always coming back to that. And in presenting it in that way, we hope to be able to kind of affirm to the council, it's for the community. We're not, this isn't just kind of like a one person, because you could say, oh, is it for me? And it's not. It's always about the community and providing a space for them. And so where we're at the moment is demonstrating that support to the council. And yes, it's monetary in a monetary way, but I do think it's more than that. And I think they are understanding that now. So,
So on the money side of things, is there a fundraising target that you have? Is there a figure that you think you're gonna need to buy the building? Are we looking for someone who's got a rich uncle who can, some philanthropist?
I think the rich uncle thing would be fabulous now.
So if anybody's got a rich uncle out there, or auntie, yes.
To have a patron who's kind of really passionate about arts, culture, heritage would be fabulous. I think we're kind of always looking for that, person on horseback to kind of, it's been a while. And I think that's a key thing behind the work we've been doing is not only spreading awareness locally, but it is just to see maybe there is something, someone has a little pot money that they want to, think, oh, this would be really good in terms of their legacy as well, kind of wanting to pass something on. So we've pitched it at 250,000, which is a really ambitious number to kind of strive towards. We have a crowdfunder, which is linked to the CIC, but alongside this is a pledging kind of setup. So we have very simply a Google form at the moment, which is a kind of a commitment to pledge when our Community Benefit Society, which is a community share offer, is set up. Okay. So we've applied for that to be set up, and that has already, that's It's a kind of a complicated one because it's not it's not something that we see on the high street all the time. But that's where people would pledge a minimum amount. In our case, it would be £100 for a share in the building. Regardless of how many shares you have, you get one vote, and everyone would then become a member. And then from that membership, you get a committee. And so the idea is that the steer of where it goes into the future, the decision making is made by that committee. So it is always with the community in mind. So and it's a kind of a model that a lot of community pubs take on. It's like that, and it enables the acquisition of the building. So that's the crucial reason why we're kind of looking at that.
So actually, community pubs are a really interesting model. As you were talking about, people go to the pub or people have places to go, but also a lot of those buildings have got so much history. They've been around for years. Particularly, I'm thinking of the local pubs to me and the villages in Berko and the surrounding areas. So that I find that encouraging. That actually exists.
Yeah, the model works, doesn't it, for those pubs? And I think that, like I was saying before, about people are searching for places to go. There's a need, there's a calling of people saying that I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to find a space. For me as an artist, I'm constantly looking for places that I can go, and it's great that commercial businesses want to partner up with me and allow me to use their space, but it's at a price. And what I don't like is that I think that arts and culture and creativity, it should be accessible to everybody. And then when I'm hiring commercial spaces, that's pushing the cost up and it makes it inaccessible for a lot of people. And going back to what I said before, people being lonely or people suffering from mental health, they need to get out, they need to meet people, they need to be part of the community and feel accepted by the community. And I think it's probably important to mention that Hemel Hempstead are going for Hemel Hempstead Town of Culture. And you only have to go on social media. And I know social media is only one form of communication and promotion, but you scroll through and the negative press that Hemel Hempstead gets, it's a dump. There's nothing there. There's nothing going on. Well, this is what the people of Hemel Hempstead are trying to do. They're trying to increase engagement in arts, culture, creativity, see the value of the town. We're so close to London. People jump on a train, you're 20, 25 minutes into London, you can get all that culture, but there's culture on your doorstep. And I think, when you look at Dacorum Borough Council's arts and culture strategy, this slots in immediately. And there are numerous other buildings, the Berry in Hemel Hempstead as well. And you see what people are writing. There is, the people want these buildings. People want to use them. This is a collection of people that are saying, well, we're doing something about it. We're members of the community, doing something for the community that's going to be used by the community. It's a win-win for everybody.
I think it's really empowering, the whole process as well. I mean, not being rude to Lisa, but Lisa's a normal person.
You've known her for years. You can be as rude as you like to her.
But Lisa's not special. Lisa has just walked past that building and has been curious and asked questions. And the more she's asked, the more she's like, well, this doesn't feel right. But she has moved. She has taken action and then brought a team together. At least didn't know anything about how to communicate with the council. She has learned everything along the way, sometimes in the hard way. What do we need now? How do we work this out? How do we get here? 3 years in the making. But the community share offer, it gives you the opportunity as a minimum of £100, but people can do 10,000, 20,000, whatever they want for their share in the building. To me, that's really empowering as a member of the community. I don't have to sit back and go, oh, the council aren't doing this. Or, it's a shame we don't have this. It's like, okay.
I think one of the things with that, not standing up for the council, but putting that, because I don't, I'm not a councillor, I don't know them, but we know from reading that councils get a bad rap, but B, are in a bad position to start with. So actually the more help they can get from communities like yours and like us, then the better. It's like James says, it's about being a partnership. And, when you say, going for the town of culture, I mean, wow, that is, like you say, it completely slots in it. It would seem madness not not to do something about this?
It could be the central hub and, the area where everybody goes for that culture.
Yeah.
It's just, it's made for that very purpose.
So what do you need? What can we do? We've £100 pledges, that's £100 and upwards pledges. I like the 10,000, 50,000. The 250 grand pledge. We can then spend the next 4 months really, nailing something down. What else are you looking for from the community and the business community of Berko and Beyond?
Yeah, we'd love some
that's a
businesses
really good
to get
question.
involved.
Yeah, so just to say, if people can't do 100, that's fine. We do also have this crowdfunder where it all means something and none of it's wasted. And businesses for sure, like if they can get behind like what we're trying to do and see the benefits of what we're trying to do and how that could impact their business in a positive way, trying to get that across and get that would be amazing right now. I think there's a few that have kind of hinted that there's that interest, and it's like, come on, we just need that, kind of to build on the confidence that obviously local people have, and see that kind of translating across businesses as well. So it is a plea in that way, actually. If anyone watches this and thinks, actually, a lot of, because we're that from the get-go we've been very values driven. We're all about inclusivity. We're a very kind of caring organisation. When we were building a team, that was actually a really important thing to me, is that we wanted kind of caring, empathetic people involved, who are respectful of each other and who are obviously amazing as well, which Claire and James obviously are. We have a brilliant team. So I think that's a big thing if businesses can get behind.
I think there's a lot of, I heard this phrase again yesterday, and it kind of makes me go, big business particularly, but a lot of businesses have a CSR box to tick. But that seems unfair to say they've got a box to tick, because a lot of those businesses have a CSR policy because it's the right thing to do and it's the right thing they want to do. But I think there's plenty of businesses within Hemel, small and large, but the large ones possibly be able to get together, and particularly, as I'm sure you're exploring, in different ways that are connected to the different ways that the building can be used for.
I think it's important, and not turning money, not wanting to turn money away, but it's having that authenticity and the integrity behind that as well. It's having a business that would want to be like, actually, I really value what you're trying to do. It's not just a signature on a check. It's actually, I really love what you're doing. Like Lisa was saying about the values that we have as a collection of people about what we're trying to do. It's not just a signature on the check. It's, it's someone saying, actually, I really love what you're doing. I really support what you're trying to do for the community. That's important as well.
Yeah. I think there'll be different levels, won't there? There'll be some businesses that just think, I value this. I want the community to have this. So I'm just going to write you a check. And that will be fantastic. And then there'll be other businesses that say, I value this and actually we'd like to be more involved and we want to collaborate with you. Perhaps their business has the name of one of the sections, or they could have the courtyard space. Could be, there's ways that we can work together. And as the Our Heath Barn project continues, there'll be more and more ways that they can get involved. Is that teenage program or the mother and baby program or all these different initiatives that we come up with, they can be the ones that help sponsor that bit. So as it develops, there'll be more opportunities. But right now, it really is coming down to hard cash. And get behind this, because really, the money is one thing, but the more that we can show the council, we raise this much money, but actually look at all these different individual companies and people that spoke on our behalf, that were out there being ambassadors for us, that were, that's really important as well. Money is one thing, but showing the council that the community got behind it. Yeah. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
So do you need more manpower in the sense of more people getting involved with your current committee? How many people are involved in it at the moment? Or?
There's quite a few of us. I think there's about 10 of us. So we have some brilliant kind of expertise already. I mean, I would say where there's slight gap is maybe around, I don't know if we're there yet really, like solicitors and, that there is that kind of expertise which isn't required at the moment, but might help fill some gaps later on. I think as a team, it's just it's the timeline really. It's kind of that short amount of time. But I think what Claire said, actually, talking about partnerships, collaboration, that is definitely key. I think if we can prove that to the council, this overlap in support of recognised organisations as well, I think is really powerful.
If you're a local business that has a great local mailing list, could you put something out speaking about Our Heath Barn and even putting your support behind it in that way would be great. Are you someone locally who knows a lot of people and actually be prepared to speak up and say you believe in this? Sort of that influencer vibe in a way. But we're on a social media campaign all the time speaking, but it needs to go kind of beyond us. Yeah. And we can reach a certain demographic, but other people will reach other people. And I think sometimes you hear it in a different way if it's coming through a different voice. So more voices. I think.
Yeah.
I think, business is based on relationships. It's based on networking and it's based on collaboration, particularly local business. So I think once we get the business community talking about it, then hopefully that's going to be a big help. If there was one thing that you would want people, and this is for each of you, one thing you would want someone to do as an action to help you, what would that one thing be? With this, thinking about this 2 to 4 months in mind, I guess.
I suppose in a very simple way, to go on the crowdfunder page and see the video, because I think then you kind of get a real sense of why it means something and the potential. And even if you don't have the means to donate, if you can share it with someone, start a conversation with someone, because you never know who you're talking to. Bare minimum, that would be my ask today. And I think it's that thing of maybe you might be someone that knows someone and mention it, and it kind of sets their heart on fire, like it has kind of for us. Because I think that is essentially what it's nice to have the support, but you want lots of people who are passionate about it. I think that's the thing, as passionate as us. And
the web address
is www.ourheathbarn.org.
Excellent. We will, of course, put all those details in the show notes. James?
I think that's what I'd like to see. I'd really like to see all members of the community from all different backgrounds come together and really show their support, and actually that it's power in numbers, not just in financial numbers, but the power of numbers of people saying, no, we do want this and we're going to get behind it. That for me, I think is powerful as well. And like you said about the power of relationships in business, the power of relationships in a community is really important. And I think that the power of numbers of people coming together and saying, no, we don't want to see this turned into more housing, because without wanting to get too political, several thousand houses have already been agreed locally. Let's save this building for the community and do something with it. And I think people getting behind it. So, yeah.
And I'll say it to your point earlier, it's for a developer, it sounds like it's very much not viable for residential anyway.
Yeah. And from a practical point of view as well, Claire said it's in a square formation. So essentially, if it's plotted, you're looking into each other. There's all kind of. Yeah.
I saw the plans. I wouldn't have wanted to live there.
Yeah.
No one wants to live there. It's a community hub.
Yeah.
But, Claire, finally, you don't want to live there.
You don't want to live in those houses. I'd like people to get excited. I'd like people to start dreaming about what it could be. If you walk your dog in Boxmoor, or you drop your kids at the swimming pool at the leisure centre, imagine if Heath Barn was open and you drop your kids and then you walk 2 seconds around the corner and you enter that space and you have a coffee and you start talking to someone who lives in the neighbourhood that you've never met. And I've had the most wonderful conversations with strangers. Some of the nicest conversations have been with complete strangers at random times that have been so heartwarming and completely shifted my whole perspective. That's what I want for people. You walk your dog and then you walk in there and you meet strangers that become friends. You want to go there, just get excited about what it could be. Because I think once that excitement is there, you'll start to feel it like we feel it, and it moves it from just being a building into
the feels. We talked about it. The feels. The feels. Well, listen. I feel it. I feel your passion. I hope anybody watching this podcast does as well and gets involved. And I hope to have you back on the podcast in 4 months' time, saying we've done it and this is the next stage and this is how we need your help next. I wish you the very best of luck with it, and thank you for being on Berko and Beyond.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of Berko and Beyond. As always, please do like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. It really does help the show's reach. We'll see you next week.